Welcome back to the Probie to Pro video series. In today's video, we're going to talk about ETOPS and some of the unique aspects of being assigned to an ETOPS bid group. First of all, what is ETOPS? When the term was introduced, it stood for Extended Range Twin Engine Operations. Now it is simply Extended Operations. Basically, it's a set of rules governing flight that takes place more than 60 minutes from a suitable diversion airport with one engine inoperative. There are several different levels of certification, but Southwest Airlines is certified to fly up to 180 minutes away from a suitable diversion airport with one engine inoperative. Not all domiciles conduct ETOPS operations. Right now, 3 of our bases have an ETOPS bid group, or EBG, and those are Oakland, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas. All pilots in both Oakland and LAX are in the ETOPS bid group, but Las Vegas is a split base, meaning that it has both ETOPS and non-ETOPS bid groups. So you're awarded a vacancy in an ETOPS bid group. What happens next? Well, you will need additional training before you can operate ETOPS flights. That training consists of several days of classroom and device training in Dallas, followed by a line experience event with a check pilot on an ETOPS flight segment. Per the contract, the company has 2 bid periods to train pilots entering an ETOPS bid group. If you are assigned to an all-ETOPS domicile like Oakland or LAX, you may be awarded an ETOPS line regardless of ETOPS qualification. However, if you are assigned to an ETOPS bid group in a split base like Las Vegas, you can only be awarded non-ETOPS lines until you are trained and qualified. Once you have ETOPS training scheduled, you can pick up ETOPS trips that report 2 days after the scheduled completion of that training. If you are contractually assigned or awarded an ETOPS pairing or reserve block, but are not trained in time, it will be pulled as an illegality and pay protected. On the other hand, if you are in an ETOPS bid group and qualified, you may be awarded a non-ETOPS line according to seniority until the remaining number of ETOPS lines is equal to the remaining number of pilots in the ETOPS bid group. So that's hard lines, but let's talk about ETOPS reserves for a minute. In Oakland and LAX, everyone is ETOPS qualified, so ETOPS reserves cover both ETOPS and non-ETOPS flying. But in Las Vegas, ETOPS reserves can only be assigned non-ETOPS flying if there are no non-ETOPS reserve pilots available and there are no legal premium bidders. But if an ETOPS pilot picks up a non-ETOPS reserve block, he or she is treated as a non-ETOPS reserve in the reserve call-out order for that reserve block. And one last note before we get too far away from the vacancy process. If you bid into an ETOPS bid group, you are locked into an ETOPS category for 6 bid periods. You can, however, bid between ETOPS bid groups, in other words, between Oakland and LAX, for example, without restarting the timer on that lock. As a new hire, you will not be ETOPS locked if your seniority prevents you from holding a non-ETOPS category in your first vacancy. Okay, so you get awarded an ETOPS bid group and you get qualified. There are a couple extra things you should know before your first ETOPS flight. First of all, since there's more work to do prior to departure, you must check in 90 minutes prior to push instead of the usual 60. Also, flights to Hawaii tend to be some of the longest in the system. Remember that for flights with a scheduled block time of 4 hours or more, you get an extra $20 per diem in lieu of a crew meal. And while we're on the subject of food, Hawaii has strict agricultural screening requirements. If you're bringing a food bag, steer clear of bringing any fresh produce into or out of the islands. Okay, that's all for today's episode of Probie to Pro. As always, we appreciate your feedback at com@swapa.org so we can make this series more useful for the next group. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.